For the majority of humanity, work is a fact of life. One of the ways in which we help society run in exchange for a place in it. Work can also define who we are to each other. In conversation with strangers, one of the most common initial questions is, "What do you do?" The implicit meaning being, "What do you do for work?" Because the answer can tell us so much about who someone is. What drives them? What do they feel passionately about? What do they excel at? But for some, the concept of work has been a lot more fraught and complicated. It can be thankless and unsung by all but a particularly empathetic few. Today, I wanted to discuss two pieces that exemplify work through this more specific lens, from two artists that frequently return to this theme in their work. Simone Leigh, a Chicago-born artist specializing in sculpture, is one of the most noted current creators examining this relationship in her pieces, specifically as it pertains to Black women. Leigh was born to a Jamaican father and an American mother and raised in a strictly fundamentalist household. She was also exposed to art from a young age by her mother, who would bring her along to museums and classical music concerts. During her summers in Jamaica with her family, Leigh witnessed the horrors of colonialism alongside the beauty of resistance, sparking a spirit of social justice within her that would later reflect in her pieces. As written in the Encyclopedia Britannica page on Simone Leigh, during a summer internship at the Smithsonian National Museum of African Art, Washington, D.C., Leigh learned about African pottery and other objects, especially those made by women. This experience contributed to her interest in Black women's labor and the way in which their art making is frequently categorized as a lesser art. One of Leigh's first known pieces is Overburdened with Significance, created in 2011 and currently featured in the LACMA among a special collection of Leigh's work. The sculpture is of a woman's head, crowned in rosettes, which, at a glance, resembles a beehive hairstyle. The rosettes are each delicately and painstakingly crafted by hand and arranged around the head and neck like a rapidly closing husk, leaving visible only an empty space where an eye should be, and two distinct facial features, the nose and lips, both distinctly Afrocentric and colored in a stark obsidian black. The rosettes are mostly cast in off-white with shades of black, tan, and gray scattered throughout. In art, white often signifies purity and light, while black symbolizes darkness and secrecy. Here, it can be interpreted that the black symbolizes the invisibility of the worker, while the mostly brighter colors of the rosettes symbolize the work itself. As quoted in an ArtNet.com article, the narrative of labor is very prominent throughout Simone's work, specifically the idea of anonymous and unrecognized labor, specifically the labor of Black women's intellectual labor, as well as creative or domestic labor. The figure is literally being overburdened with work. The work towers above the figure, weighing her down, swallowing her, obscuring her, rendering her nearly unseen. While one can clearly see the intricacy of what has been created, one is challenged to uncover and examine the living and breathing talent behind it. Diego Rivera was a very famous Mexican painter. Showing promise in art at an early age, Rivera began his studies at the San Carlos Academy of Fine Arts at the age of 10. At 21, Rivera went to Europe, where he continued his studies and befriended great artists such as Picasso, prepping him for a future as one of the most noteworthy Latin artists of all time. In life, he was mostly celebrated for his murals, painted in different parts of Mexico and the United States, sometimes courting notoriety for including anti-capitalist themes. As written in the biography.com page on Rivera, some of his works created controversy, especially the one he did for the Rockefeller family in the RCA building in New York City. The mural, known as Man at the Crossroads, featured a portrait of Russian communist leader Vladimir Lenin. A chronic womanizer, Rivera was married 4 times, most notably to his third wife, celebrated artist Frida Kahlo, with whom he shared a rocky off-and-on relationship until her death. Since his death at the age of 70, Rivera has become less associated with his murals and more with his iconic paintings, including the one I will be discussing today. Flower Day is one of several Diego Rivera works featuring Mexican flower vendors, a staple of Mexican culture. Created in 1925, in this image, we see an older woman with a basket of calla lilies strapped to her back. The basket is larger and wider than she is, implying that this is a serious and difficult undertaking, albeit one performed with grace and good humor, as implied by the woman's warm smile. Her hands are clasped in front of her as if in prayer, and 2 women, one with a baby strapped to her back, are kneeling in front of her while a crowd of people are gathered behind her. This is an image that holds its subject in great acclaim. The colors are warm and inviting, the reds and oranges signifying life and vitality, while the white clothing worn by the vendor and the women signify purity and hope. The flower vendor is a commanding yet inviting presence, centered and taking up the majority of space in the painting. The lines further center her. The lines forming her hands, the knotted scarf, and the points at the ends of the lilies all draw your eye to the center, commanding your attention. The women kneel to her. The people in the background appear to follow her. The artist wants you to regard her with the same appreciation that people performing menial labor often lack. As written in an Artnet.com article on the piece, there's a straight line between Flower Day's celebration of the labor behind an aesthetic object, flowers, and the new status of art in the United States, where it had previously been considered pretty dandified. Rivera helped give art a new symbolism, both as connected to working people and as a form of dignified work itself. While both pieces involved a floral motif and the theme of labor, they are different in how they express this theme. Lee's piece can be interpreted as a condemnation of a specific viewer, one that may fail to fully appreciate a worker. In this case, a Black female worker, for all that they contribute. The other is a celebration of the subject, the worker, and a celebration of an underappreciated aspect of Mexican culture. Thank you.